The Aggies fell to second-ranked Alabama on the road today in Tuscaloosa. President Donald Trump remains in the hospital tonight after contracting COVID-19. A lemonade stand raises money for a local girl's medical bills. The Brazos County Health District reported more than 50 new cases of COVID-19 today. And coming up in sports, Tyler and John will have a full look at SEC and high school football recaps during Saturday's extra coverage.
And we have a cold front that's on the way for your Sunday. We'll get you all the details on that coming up here in just a bit.
Local, trusted. This is News 3 at 10 on KBTX.
Good evening and thank you for joining us. I'm Clay Falls. The Aggies were on the road this afternoon taking on Alabama in Tuscaloosa. Let's send things over to Tyler Shaw for a look at today's game. Tyler?
Thanks, Clay. Now, we knew this game would be a challenge. Texas A&M has not beaten Alabama since 2012, which was their first year in the SEC. Tonight wouldn't be any different. The Aggies were able to keep it close into the second quarter with the game tied at 14, but it was all pretty much Alabama after that, cruising to a 52-24 victory. Aggie quarterback Kellen Mond knows that they still need to clean some things up, and a polished team like the Crimson Tide will take advantage of their opponent's mistakes.
To me, what makes Bama so special, they're very disciplined, and they also capitalize off of other teams' mistakes. And we're down one score, and then that pick six ends up being two scores, and then they go down and score another time. So by the end of the half, it's three scores. So that was huge on my part, and definitely something I need to clean up.
The Aggies will be at Kyle Field next week to take on Florida, and we'll have full highlights from tonight's tussle in Tuscaloosa coming up in Saturday extra coverage.
Thank you, Tyler. President Donald Trump tweeted that he's feeling well as he undergoes treatment for the coronavirus. The White House doctor issued a statement Saturday night saying President Trump is not yet out of the woods, but the president does remain off oxygen at the hospital. Natalie Brand reports from Walter Reed National Military Medical Center.
Supporters of President Trump gathered outside Walter Reed, where the president prepared to spend a second night receiving treatment for the coronavirus. From inside the hospital's presidential suite, President Trump tweeted a video message about his health.
I came here, wasn't feeling so well. I feel much better now. We're working hard to get me all the way back. You don't know, over the next period of a few days, I guess that's the real test.
A source familiar with the president's health told reporters Saturday vitals over the last 24 hours were very concerning, and the next 48 hours will be critical in terms of his care, adding, quote, "We're still not on a clear path to a full recovery." CBS News has also confirmed the president was administered supplemental oxygen at the White House Friday before he was flown to Walter Reed in the evening. It's not clear if the president was having trouble breathing at that time. And new questions are now emerging about the timeline surrounding the president's diagnosis.
Just 72 hours into the diagnosis now.
In a White House statement issued shortly after, White House physician Dr. Sean Conley said he incorrectly used the term 72 hours and should have said day 3, adding that the president tested positive Thursday night. It's still unclear exactly when the president began displaying symptoms, and Dr. Conley declined to answer a question about when President Trump last tested negative for the virus.
I'm not going to get into all the testing going back, but he and all the staff routinely are tested.
Former New Jersey Governor Chris Christie announced Saturday that he has COVID-19. He tweeted that he has checked himself into a hospital as a precaution and says he is feeling good with only mild symptoms. Natalie Brandt, CBS News, Bethesda, Maryland.
3 senators have also tested positive for the coronavirus. Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell says the Senate will not meet in person for 2 weeks as a result. In the meantime, he is still wanting to work on the confirmation of Judge Amy Coney Barrett to the U.S. Supreme Court. Back here at home, the Brazos County Health District reported 55 new cases of COVID-19 today. 62% of these new cases are from the 18 to 24-year-old age group. Active cases are slightly down from yesterday's numbers, with 569 reported today. Tonight, 10 Brazos County residents remain hospitalized. No new deaths were reported in the past 24 hours. Here's a look at active cases across the Brazos Valley. Walker County is reporting 758 active cases, which includes numbers from both the community and the TDCJ. Madison County is now reporting 15 active cases, and Waller County is reporting 30.
Well, we are keeping close eyes on the tropics after a really quiet end to September. October is once again showing where you get that second seasonal peak in some of this activity. Tropical Storm Gamma continues to make its way across the Yucatan Peninsula and is expected to emerge into the southern Gulf as we head into the next, say, 12 hours or so. Winds still sustained at about 60 miles per hour, and it will likely remain a stronger tropical storm throughout the remainder of its life cycle as it continues to make that jog westward. But the system that bears watching for everybody along the Gulf Coast is a disturbed area of weather that sits just to the south of Hispaniola. That has given high odds that we may see some type of tropical development next week. We'll talk about its impacts, plus a cold front headed our way, coming up here in just a couple minutes.
Thank you, Erica. Senior officials in the Texas Attorney General's office are asking federal law enforcement to investigate Ken Paxton for abuse of office, bribery, and other criminal offenses. The letter obtained by the Austin American-Statesman and KView does not provide detailed accusations, but law officials were notified of the potential crime on September 30th. Paxton is still under indictment for previous fraud charges from 2015. A dog could be a life changer for a College Station girl dealing with some serious health issues. News 3's Donnie Tuggle shows us how the community is rallying behind her family to help with medical expenses and to get her the service dog she desperately needs.
Before Jennifer Boyd could speak about her daughter, she took a few deep breaths as she fought back the tears.
Jolie's a very special person. She's a miracle for us.
Jolie Kate Boyd is a brave 5-year-old who has epilepsy and started having seizures when she was just 15 months old.
Since she was about 3, the seizures have just significantly increased month by month.
Family and friends held a lemonade sale Saturday, hoping to ease some of the financial strain.
The Boyd family, between medical expenses, equipment costs, prescriptions, the training of a seizure dog, total over $50,000.
Last year, Jolie's lemonade stand raised $800 for a classmate and his service dog. But now, Jolie needs the help.
She has a contagious smile and laugh and spirit. She's a hard worker. Anything that you put in front of her, she's going to work to achieve it.
Jolie's mom says despite the circumstances, she knows God is with her and knows what's best.
We are scared. And we do not like seeing our daughter go through the things that she has to, that a 5-year-old shouldn't. He knows.
In College Station, Donnie Tuggle, News 3.
In 2 weeks, Jolie will be having brain surgery. We'll keep her in our prayers. If you'd like to help, Jolie's family has set up a GoFundMe page, which you can find with this story at KBTX.com. You're taking a live eye look over Briarcrest and Highway 6. Erica Page will have your forecast after the break.
News 3 weather from the Pinpoint Forecast team is sponsored by First Financial Bank. Local bankers putting you first. And now, local weather.
We've had a lot of folks chiming in saying they just absolutely love the cooler mornings that we've been enjoying. Some folks even this morning were able to get down into the low to even mid 40s, and that was mostly across our eastern counties where temperatures were just able to cool off enough in some of those rural areas. But again, it has been a gorgeous past couple of mornings. I think you'll find tomorrow morning just as comfortable. A lot of us waking up into the mid and upper 50s, maybe lower 60s, slightly warmer than where we have been because winds have been out of the south today, but they do calm down as we head into the overnight. That allows for us to at least get the possibility of some of that patchy fog first thing in the morning. So it won't be fog for everybody. It may be dense in some of those localized locations, but because skies are clear tonight, those temperatures are able to cool down quickly, and that's what may give us a little bit of that foggier of a start. But really, once we get towards mid-morning, sunshine comes back out and your temperatures are warming up accordingly. In fact, tomorrow looks almost mirrored to today. We're expected to sit into the mid-80s by the afternoon hours before eventually dipping down to the mid-70s. But one thing that is different is that we've got a small chance for rain and winds are turning back out of the north. This is where that cold front starts to roll through the Brazos Valley and eventually gives us another cool start to your Monday. Northern counties, you folks, as that cold front starts to roll in first thing in the afternoon, may only make it to the upper 70s, low 80s, while everybody else, I think, south of that boundary should make it into about the mid 80s. But this is where we're saying there's a small chance for rain. You look at this area of low pressure, you see the cold front and a few of these showers kind of developing along and ahead of it. That may be some of the rain that we try and squeeze out here across the Brazos Valley, but it is not a guarantee for most folks. In fact, I think the vast majority of us stay completely dry. Notice we got a couple of those green specks trying to develop. That is that quick sprinkle chance that we have for tomorrow afternoon. We just don't have a lot of good moisture in the atmosphere to give us much better than a 10% chance for rain, and even that may be optimistic for tomorrow. Then we get into the beginning part of this next week. We stay dry. Sunshine's back in the story, but by Friday we may start to work in at least a little bit more of that Gulf moisture, and that's because the pattern starts to change just a bit more. The cold front is associated with this upper level area of low pressure, but once it scoots eastward, high pressure becomes the dominating story for our forecast really through the back half of it. But what's interesting is we kind of take the jet stream up to the north, and both high pressure systems kind of vacate the area. So that allows for a weakness in our weather pattern, which gives us the heat and a little bit more of that humidity, which may fuel some tropical downpours for some, though for the western Gulf, not looking overly likely. I think more of these tropical downpours look possible further off towards the east, but this is where we will have to watch and see what happens with Invest 92L. Again, it has some chances to try and get a little bit better organized as it approaches the central Gulf by this next week. I don't think we're going to see big impacts here, other than the fact that it may give us a few clouds by the middle part of the week, and it will help to bring those temperatures back closer to the mid and upper 80s, if not 90 degrees by the end of the forecast.
Thank you very much, Erica. It's great to see that fall has finally arrived. We waited for this. Well, that's all the news from us tonight, but stay tuned for Saturday Extra coverage with Tyler Shaw and John Wilson after the break.
This is Saturday Extra coverage, sponsored by Norman G. Tractor.
First road game of the year. Welcome to week 2 of Saturday Extra coverage. Alongside John Wilson, I'm Tyler Shaw. And John, opening at home last week against Vanderbilt, the Aggies sure dove right into the meat of the SEC West schedule in Tuscaloosa.
Yeah, it doesn't get a whole lot harder than that, Tyler, and more challenging, if you will, going on the road to take on number 2 Alabama. And this top 10 matchup, obviously one of the best games in the SEC, and was seen right here on KBTX. The Aggies looking for their first win against Alabama since 2012 when they knocked off the Crimson Tide in Tuscaloosa. A&M doesn't get off to a good start. Crimson Tide quarterback Mac Jones goes to the air and hits John Michie. That's good for a 78-yard touchdown, and Bama grabs a 7-0 lead. Tide add to that advantage later in the opening quarter. Najee Harris takes the handoff and scores from 6 yards out to make it a 14-0 Bama lead. The Aggies, though, do come back, and it starts with a pretty special play from Aniyah Smith. He grabs the on pass and somehow able to stay in bounds. That goes for a 47-yard touchdown, and Texas A&M cuts the lead to 14-7. The defense comes with a big play as DeMarvin Leal picks off the pass after Tyree Johnson tipped it. Leal would rumble down to the Alabama 17-yard line. That was his first career interception. On the next play, Mond throws a strike to former Iola Bulldog Ryan Rennick for a 17-yard TD. Rennick's first touchdown as an Aggie ties the game at 14.
Now the rest of the first half would belong to Bama. A Harris 2-yard touchdown run gave the Tide the lead back, and they'd follow that up with a Daniel Wright 47-yard interception return for a TD. That makes it 28-14. Late in the second, Jones finds Devontae Smith in the back of the end zone for a 2-yard toss. Alabama up 35-14 at the break. Texas A&M starts the scoring in the second half with the field goal, but Bama bounces back with a big play. Jones goes deep to Jalen Waddle. They connect for an 87-yard touchdown pass. Alabama up 42-17. That was the score after 3 quarters. The Aggies do find the end zone in the fourth as Mond hits Smith for a 14-yard touchdown. Mond threw for 318 yards in the game, but this day belonged to Alabama. The Crimson Tide beat Texas A&M 52-24.
We got to stop the big plays, learn to be more efficient on offense and take advantage of some more of those opportunities and to be able to play and compete. But we had some opportunities, and again, not just disappointed we didn't do it, but there's still a lot to work with. Some of our young guys, we can make some improvement here coming up. We have a chance to have a good football team.
I think we left a lot out there. You know, like I said, Alabama played very good, but at the end of the day, we left a lot on the table, and it's important that, you know, we keep playing and not let the small things slip through our fingers.
Next week, the Aggies will be back at home to take on the third-ranked Florida Gators.
Here's a look at some of the numbers from today's game. Alabama outgained Texas A&M 544 yards to 450. Crimson Tide quarterback Mac Jones threw for 435 yards and 4 touchdowns. Texas A&M ran for 115 yards in the game and held the ball for 37 minutes and 41 seconds. Alabama had the ball for just 22 minutes and 18 seconds. Coming up, see how the rest of the conference fared in the second week of action.
And that includes a top 10 showdown in Georgia, the Bulldogs hosting Auburn.
Coming up in a few minutes, the wrap-up of today's scores and highlights on Saturday Extra Coverage, sponsored by Norman G. Tractor. Nobody beats Norman G. Tractor. You're watching Saturday Extra Coverage on News 3, sponsored by Norman G. Tractor.
Welcome back to Saturday Extra Coverage, week 2 of a 10-week all-conference schedule in the SEC, so there's not really any guaranteed wins on the calendar.
And there's bound to be a marquee matchup with the setup that we have this year in the SEC. This week gave us a top 10 showdown between Auburn and Georgia. The 4th-ranked Bulldogs hosting the 7th-ranked Tigers. The Dogs get off to a good start in this one. Stetson Bennett throws a beauty to George Pickens. That's good for a 21-yard touchdown pass and a 17-0 Georgia lead. Bulldogs back at it later in the second quarter. Zamir White scores from a yard out. Bulldogs build a 24-3 halftime lead. The Georgia defense would continue to keep the Auburn offense contained in the second half. Mark Webb picks off the Bo Nix pass. Bulldogs beat Tigers tonight 27-6.
Let's check in with the Aggies opponent next week. Florida hosting South Carolina. Second quarter, quarterback Colin Hill finds Shi Smith, who spins into the end zone, and the Gamecocks tie the game up at 7 apiece. Gators respond towards the end of the half. Kyle Trask finds his reliable tight end Kyle Pitts on the slant. Pitts' second TD of the game. Gators up 24-14. Second half, Gators would not look back. Trask dumps it off to Kadarius Toney. Toney turns that into a 57-yard catch and run. Takes it to the house, and number 3 Florida goes on to win 38-24.
Number 21 Tennessee at home against Missouri. The Volunteers gave their fans a lot to cheer about today. Early in the second quarter, Tennessee's Eric Gray takes the handoff and scampers 20 yards to the end zone to give the Vols a 14-0 lead. Gray getting it done later in the opening half as he takes the pass from Jarrett Garantano and scores on a 13-yard CD reception. Tennessee led 21-6 at the break. Garantano would score a pair of touchdown runs in the second half, including this sneak in the fourth quarter. Tennessee tops Missouri 35-12.
Lane Kiffin and Ole Miss looking for their first upset at Kentucky. It went back and forth all game in the fourth quarter. Matt Corral finds Jonathan Mingo over the middle to tie things up at 28. Now this one would go to overtime. Kentucky strikes first. Terry Wilson on the keeper takes it in from 10 yards out, but the Wildcats would miss the extra point, so the Rebels take advantage. Corral finds Elijah Moore for a touchdown, and Ole Miss wins their first game in the Lane Kiffin era, 42-41.
Also today in the SEC, Mississippi State could not follow up last week's big win over LSU with another victory. They lose to Arkansas 21-14. The Razorbacks snap a 20-game conference losing streak. LSU does bounce back from last week's loss, beating Vanderbilt 41-7.
Coming up, we'll check in with the Big 12, including TCU and Texas going to the wire in Austin.
Plus, we've got some high school football. The College Station Cougars on the road tonight at Fort Bend Bush.
Here are tonight's winning lottery numbers, sponsored by Hinson Brand. We deliver for free.
Earning trust takes time. More than 60 years ago, KBTX began a relationship with the Brazos Valley. Together, we've endured unthinkable tragedy and thrilling celebrations. We've welcomed new faces and shown our thanks for those who have impacted our lives through flood and devastation and moments of triumph. From famous faces to those who left a lasting impression and images we will always remember. After all these years, now facing one of our greatest challenges, we still have each other here day and night to help keep you and your family safe. We're in it together because this is our home. Every day we are here, and together we will emerge closer, stronger, dedicated and trusted. Since 1957, KBTX News 3.
You're watching Saturday Extra coverage on News 3, sponsored by Norman G. Tractor.
Well, it's week 2 for the SEC. It's also week 2 for most Class 5A and 6A high school football teams in Texas.
That's right, John. College Station had a Saturday game in their pre-district schedule on the road in Sugar Land against Fort Bend Bush. Now the Cougars looking to start 2-0 after a dominating season opener last week against Hutto. This is the first drive for the Cougars. Roderick Brown takes the handoff. He gets around the outside and he's in for a 31-yard touchdown. 7-0 College Station early on. The Broncos respond with a quick drive downfield, but on 4th and goal, Harrison Robinson comes up with a big tackle. Cougars take over on downs. 2 possessions later, they go the field. Jet Huff goes to the air and finds Traylon Sewell in the back of the end zone, so it's 14-0 Cougars, just like that. Into the second quarter, Cougars in the red zone again, and this time it's Marquise Collins going full steam ahead for the touchdown. 21-0 College Station. After good field position on a bad punt, Huff hits Brown for the score, and the lead is extended 28-0. Are you tired of the Cougars scoring yet? Well, they'll get in the end zone one more time before the half. It's Brown with his 3rd TD of the day. 35-0 College Station. They go into the half up 38 and cruise to a 54-0 win.
In the Big 12 today, Baylor playing in just their 2nd game of the season at West Virginia. We picked this one up late in the 4th quarter. Charlie Brewer hits Josh Fleeks, who's able to find his way to the end zone for a 34-yard touchdown. That ties the game at 14, and we are headed to overtime. Both teams score touchdowns in the first OT. Baylor gets the ball to start the 2nd extra session, but Brewer's pass is picked off by Tyke Smith in the end zone, which means with a score, West Virginia would win. And they get that score courtesy of Letty Brown's 3-yard touchdown run. West Virginia beats Baylor by the final of 27-21.
An in-state battle between number 9 Texas and TCU. Second quarter, Max Duggan for the Horned Frogs on the keeper from 5 yards out, and TCU takes the 14-7 lead. Longhorns quickly respond. Sam Ellinger goes across the middle to Brennan Eagles, and Eagles takes it 45 yards for the touchdown, all tied up at 14. Then in the 4th, TCU down by 3, but Duggan breaks free, this time a 26-yard touchdown run. That takes the lead. Texas would have a chance to win from the 1-yard line, but Burton product D. Winters makes the initial contact. That helps force the fumble, and TCU hangs on to win 33-31.
Also today in the Big 12, Oklahoma State stays perfect on the season with a 47-7 win over Kansas. Kansas State beat Texas Tech 31-21. Oklahoma and Iowa State have just gone final. The Sooners lose back-to-back games. They fall to Iowa State by a score of 37-30.
It's 2020, lots of upsets. That'll do it for week 2 edition of the KBTX Sports SEC. For everybody here, thanks for watching. We'll see you tomorrow.